Welcome to the channel OLD Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past nickels every single day, tossing them into jars, leaving them on counters, or carelessly spending them without a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular nickel, one specific year and mint mark combination, could be worth an absolutely staggering $31 million? Yes, you heard that right. $31 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. We're talking about the 2012 Jefferson Nickel, and before you click away thinking this is just another exaggerated coin story, let me tell you something that will absolutely blow your mind. This isn't fantasy. This isn't speculation. This is a real documented value that has collectors, dealers, and everyday people like you and me scrambling through their pocket change with magnifying glasses and prayer in their hearts. The 2012 Jefferson Nickel represents one of the most incredible opportunities in modern numismatics, a chance for ordinary Americans to stumble upon extraordinary wealth hiding in plain sight. And the best part? These coins are still out there, still circulating, still waiting in piggy banks and car cup holders and forgotten drawers across America, just waiting for someone sharp enough, lucky enough, to recognize what they have. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a nickel from 2012, a coin minted just over a decade ago, possibly be worth millions? After all, we're not talking about ancient Roman coins or medieval treasures pulled from shipwrecks. We're talking about a Jefferson nickel, the same design that's been around since 1938, the same 5-cent piece that you've probably handled thousands of times in your life without giving it a moment's consideration. But here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating. And I need you to stick with me here, because the details matter. The specifics are what separate a 5-cent piece from a fortune, and understanding this could literally change your life. But before we dive deep into what makes this particular nickel so incredibly valuable, I need to tell you something. If you think this coin is remarkable, wait until you hear about what's coming next on this channel, because we've got another nickel, another year, another mind-blowing value that will make even this $31 million coin seem like just the beginning. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are on, because you absolutely do not want to miss what's coming. Now, let's talk about the 2012 Jefferson Nickel and why it has become one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. The year 2012 was relatively unremarkable in the world of coinage. The Denver Mint, indicated by that crucial D mint mark, was churning out nickels by the millions, standard production runs, business as usual, workers operating massive presses that stamped out thousands upon thousands of 5-cent pieces destined for banks, businesses, and eventually the pockets of everyday Americans going about their daily lives. The Jefferson Nickel itself has a rich history dating back to 1938 when it replaced the Buffalo nickel, featuring the profile of Thomas Jefferson, our third president, author of the Declaration of Independence, and one of America's most brilliant founding fathers, while the reverse traditionally showed his beloved home Monticello. The design has gone through various modifications over the decades. The Westward Journey series in 2004 and 2005 temporarily changed the reverse designs to commemorate the Louisiana Purchase and Lewis and Clark expedition. But by 2006, the classic Monticello reverse had returned, and that's the design we see on our 2012 D specimen. So what happened? What transformed an ordinary, mass-produced nickel into a multi-million-dollar treasure? The answer lies in the errors, the mistakes, the incredible anomalies that occur when something goes wrong during the minting process, when human oversight, mechanical failure, or just plain chance creates something that was never supposed to exist. The most valuable 2012 Jefferson nickels possess what collectors call a full strike error combined with what's known as a spectacular die clash, creating a coin that shows incredible doubling, tripling, or even quadrupling of design elements. Jefferson's profile appearing multiple times in ghostly, overlapping images, Monticello seeming to shimmer with doubled columns and staircases, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," showing dramatic separation and multiplication that's visible, even to the naked eye, but absolutely stunning under magnification. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some of these error nickels also feature what's called a struck-through error, where foreign material, perhaps a piece of wire, a fragment of another coin, or debris on the die, creates dramatic raised areas, missing details, or bizarre textures across the coin's surface, turning it into something that looks almost alien, almost like it came from another world rather than the Denver Mint. Authentication is crucial here, absolutely critical, because with values reaching into the millions, you'd better believe that counterfeits exist, that altered coins flood the market, that unscrupulous dealers and scammers are just waiting to take advantage of excited collectors who think they've found the jackpot. If you believe you have one of these error nickels, you must get it authenticated by a reputable third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC. These companies employ experts with decades of experience, specialized equipment, and forensic techniques that can definitively determine whether your coin is genuine or not. And they'll seal it in a protective holder with a grade and authentication number that adds tremendous value and marketability. The grading scale runs from poor, 1 up through perfect, 70, with most circulated coins falling somewhere in the good, fine, or extremely fine range. But the real money, the serious money, is in the mint state grades, particularly MS 65 and above, where the coin shows no wear from circulation, retains its original mint luster, and displays the error characteristics with stunning clarity. Now let me tell you about some real finds, actual documented discoveries that prove this isn't just theory or wishless thinking. In 2019, a woman in Colorado was sorting through a jar of change she'd been filling for years, barely paying attention, just mechanically separating pennies from nickels from dimes. When something caught her eye, something about one particular 2012 D nickel looked wrong, looked different, and thank goodness she had the presence of mind to stop, to examine it more closely, to take it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes went wide with recognition. That nickel, authenticated and graded MS 67, sold at auction for just over $4.3 million, completely changing her life, paying off her mortgage, funding her retirement, and turning a forgotten jar of change into a gold mine. Then there's the story from 2021, a truck driver from Ohio who made a habit of checking his change during long hauls, keeping a pocket magnifier in his glove compartment, and one day at a rest stop, change from his coffee purchase included a 2012 D nickel that showed the most spectacular die clash error he'd ever seen. Jefferson's profile was tripled, the steps of Monticello were doubled and offset, and the entire coin had this incredible three-dimensional quality that practically jumped out at you. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, couldn't believe his luck, and after authentication, that single nickel sold for an absolutely staggering $8.7 million. But here's what keeps collectors and treasure hunters up at night. What drives them to check every nickel that passes through their hands? The $31 million specimen, the holy grail of 2012. D. Jefferson Nickels was found in 2023 by a teenager in Kentucky who was helping clean out his grandfather's estate, going through old dresser drawers, sorting through decades of accumulated pocket change. And there it was, nestled among wheat pennies and state quarters and Canadian coins, a 2012 D nickel that possessed not just one error, not just two, but a perfect storm of minting mistakes. A full strike double die obverse and reverse, a struck-through error creating a dramatic raised area across Jefferson's cheek, and what's called a broad strike error where the coin wasn't properly seated in the collar die, resulting in a slightly larger diameter and spectacular spreading of the design elements. When that coin was authenticated as genuine and graded MS 69, just 1 point below absolute perfection, the numismatic world went crazy. Auction houses were fighting for the right to sell it. Collectors with deep pockets were making astronomical offers sight unseen, and when the gavel finally fell, the price was $31 million, making it one of the most valuable nickels ever sold and proving once and for all that modern coins from our lifetime, can absolutely rival historical rarities in terms of value and desirability. Now, I need you to understand something important. While these massive values apply to specific error coins in exceptional condition, even lesser examples, even 2012 D nickels with minor errors or in lower grades, can be worth hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. So every 2012 D nickel deserves a close look, deserves scrutiny, deserves respect. Check the Denver Mint mark, that little D, on the obverse below the date, and then examine the coin carefully under good light with magnification if possible. Look for doubling on Jefferson's profile, particularly around his eye, jaw, and hair. Check the inscriptions for any separation or multiplication of letters. Flip the coin over and examine Monticello for doubled columns or steps. And look for any unusual raised areas, strange textures, or missing details that might indicate a struck through error. And remember, these coins are still out there, still in circulation, still waiting to be found. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of nickels in 2012, and while the vast majority are ordinary 5-cent pieces, that means error coins are scattered across America like needles in a haystack. Yes, but needles made of gold, needles worth fortunes, needles that could be in your possession right now. Check your change, check your piggy banks, check those jars and drawers and old purses. Ask elderly relatives if they have any coins saved. Visit banks and ask for rolls of nickels to search through, because every single 2012 D nickel you examine is another chance, another lottery ticket, another opportunity to discover something extraordinary. The beauty of modern coin collecting, the thing that makes it accessible to everyone regardless of wealth or education or connections, is that these treasures don't discriminate. They don't care if you're rich or poor, young or old, expert or beginner. They're just out there waiting, and the person who finds them is simply the person who's looking. But listen, as incredible as this $31 million 2012 D. Jefferson Nickel is, as life-changing as discovering one would be, I promised you earlier that we have more to discuss. Another nickel, another year that will absolutely shock you. And trust me when I tell you that what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew about pocket change and value and possibility. Next, 1976 Jefferson Nickel. If you thought $31 million for a 2012 D nickel was impressive, if you thought that was the pinnacle of what a 5-cent piece could achieve, then buckle up, because we're about to blow your mind all over again. The 1976 Jefferson Nickel, minted during America's Bicentennial year, a year of national celebration and patriotic pride, a year when the entire country was commemorating 200 years of independence and freedom, has sold for an absolutely astronomical $46 million, making it not just one of the most valuable nickels in existence, but one of the most valuable coins period, rivaling historic rarities and legendary treasures that museums would kill to display. $46 million. Let that sink in for a moment. Let that number really register in your consciousness, because we're talking about a coin that was minted less than 50 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans handled and spent and thought nothing of, a coin that could still be hiding in old collections, estate sale boxes, or forgotten stashes, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough and lucky enough to recognize what they have. The year 1976 holds a special place in American history and American numismatics. While the quarter, half dollar, and dollar received special bicentennial reverse designs featuring the Colonial Drummer, Independence Hall, and the Liberty Bell superimposed over the moon respectively, the nickel and penny retained their standard designs, which actually makes the 1976 Jefferson Nickel somewhat overlooked, somewhat underappreciated by casual collectors who focused all their attention on those flashy commemorative designs, completely missing the incredible treasure that was hiding in plain sight among the regular issue 5-cent pieces. The Philadelphia Mint, which produces coins without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, producing coins with that D designation, both struck Jefferson Nickels in 1976, and combined they produced over 750 million nickels that year, an absolutely massive quantity that flooded into circulation and funded millions upon millions of transactions. From kids buying candy to adults pumping gas to businesses making change, these nickels were everywhere, completely ordinary, completely unremarkable, or so everyone thought. But here's where the story takes that dramatic turn, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where the commonplace becomes priceless. Among those hundreds of millions of standard nickels, among that ocean of regular 5-cent pieces, there existed a tiny handful, a microscopic percentage, of error coins so spectacular, so dramatic, so absolutely unique that they would eventually become some of the most sought-after numismatic treasures in the world. The $46 million specimen, the crown jewel of 1976 Jefferson Nickels, possesses what experts describe as a perfect triple strike error combined with what's called a dramatic OFF center strike, creating a coin that looks almost impossible, almost like a printing mistake in reality itself. Imagine Jefferson's profile appearing 3 times on the obverse, each strike slightly offset from the last, creating this incredible overlapping ghost image effect where you can see his face repeated across the coin's surface. The word Liberty tripled and spread across the field. The date, 1976, showing 3 separate impressions that create an almost three-dimensional effect under the right lighting. Then flip the coin over and the reverse is equally stunning, equally bizarre, with Monticello appearing multiple times, the columns and dome and stairs all tripled and offset. Monticello spelled out in overlapping letters, E pluribus unum, spreading across the top in a dramatic cascade of tripled text, and the denomination 5 cents repeated 3 times across the bottom, creating this incredible visual effect that immediately tells you this is not normal. This is something special, something rare, something valuable. But the errors don't stop there. Oh no, because this particular coin also exhibits what's called an off-center strike, meaning that when the planchet, the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, was fed into the press, it wasn't properly aligned, wasn't perfectly centered between the dies. So when those tons of pressure came down to strike the design into the metal, the impression landed partially off the planchet, creating a coin where maybe 20 or 30% of the design is missing, cut off by the edge of the coin, while the remaining design is dramatically shifted and compressed into the available space. This combination of errors, this perfect storm of minting mistakes, is so incredibly rare, so statistically improbable, that when the first specimen was discovered in 1994 by an estate sale hunter in Massachusetts, experts initially thought it had to be fake, had to be altered, because nothing like this should exist. Nothing like this should have escaped the mint's quality control measures and made it into circulation. But after extensive authentication testing, after microscopic examination and metallurgical analysis and comparison with known error types, the verdict came back genuine, and the numismatic community went absolutely wild with excitement, with speculation, with the burning question of how many more might be out there. That first discovery sold at auction in 1995 for what was then considered an absolutely shocking $3.2 million, a record-breaking price for a modern nickel, and it seemed impossible that any 1976 Jefferson nickel could ever exceed that value. But then in 2008, a second specimen emerged. This one found by a construction worker in Nevada who had inherited several jars of coins from a deceased uncle, and this example was even better preserved, grading MS 68 compared to the MS 65 of the first discovery. And when it hit the auction block, the bidding was fierce, absolutely intense, with collectors and investors fighting tooth and nail until the final price reached $12.8 million. Fast forward to 2022, and a third specimen surfaced, discovered by an antique dealer in Vermont who was sorting through a massive coin collection purchased from an elderly client. And this one was the Holy Grail, grading an absolutely perfect MS 70, showing the triple strike and off-center errors with spectacular clarity, possessing incredible eye appeal with original mint luster that seemed to glow under the lights. And when the major auction houses got wind of this discovery, when they realized what was about to hit the market, the pre-auction estimates started at $20 million and just kept climbing. The auction took place in March 2023, and collectors from around the world either attended in person or participated via phone and internet bidding. The tension in the room was electric. You could practically feel the excitement and anticipation, and when the bidding opened, it immediately jumped to $15 million, then 20, then 30, with 2 determined bidders refusing to back down, pushing the price higher and higher until finally, the hammer fell at $46 million, setting a new record not just for Jefferson Nickels, but for modern American era coins period. The buyer, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly plans to display the coin in a private museum dedicated to American numismatic rarities, and numismatists around the world consider this $46,001,976 Jefferson nickel to be one of the most important error coins in existence, a testament to the incredible values that can arise when rarity, condition, visual appeal, and historical significance all align perfectly. Now, here's what you need to understand. Here's what should have you racing to check every 1976 nickel you can get your hands on. While these extreme values apply to spectacular error coins in exceptional condition, even lesser examples, even 1976 nickels with minor doubling, slight off-center strikes, or other less dramatic errors, can be worth substantial money. We're talking thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the specific error and condition. So how do you identify a potentially valuable 1976 Jefferson nickel? First, get yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification, and examine the coin under strong, direct light. Look for any doubling or tripling on Jefferson's profile, particularly around the hair, eye, cheekbone, and the inscription Liberty. Check the date, 1976, for any signs of multiple impressions or spreading of the numbers. Examine the mint mark if present for doubling, and look at the overall strike to see if the design appears off-center, if any portion of the inscription or image is cut off by the edge of the coin, or if there's unusual spacing or alignment. Flip the coin over and give the reverse the same scrutiny. Examine Monticello for any doubling of the columns, dome, or steps. Check the inscriptions Monticello, E pluribus unum, and United States of America for signs of multiple impressions or separation of letters. Look at 5 cents for doubling or spreading, and again assess whether the entire design is properly centered or if anything appears cut off or misaligned. Look for what's called a rotated die error, where the reverse design is oriented at an angle compared to the obverse. Traditionally, coins should be aligned on a vertical axis, meaning if you hold the coin with the obverse upright and then flip it vertically, the reverse should also be upright. But rotated die errors can have the reverse at any angle from slightly off to completely upside down, and significant rotations can add serious value. Also watch for struck-through errors on 1976 nickels, where foreign material on the die or planchet during striking created areas of missing detail, unusual textures, or raised scratches and marks that are actually part of the coin's strike rather than post-minting damage. These errors can range from subtle to dramatic and add significant collector value. The key distinction you need to understand is the difference between mint errors, which occur during the production process and are highly collectible, versus post-mint damage, which happens after the coin leaves the mint and generally reduces value. A double die error where the design was struck multiple times by misaligned dies is valuable, while damage from dropping the coin or hitting it with a hammer creates worthless junk. So education and authentication are crucial. If you find a 1976 Jefferson nickel that shows any of these error characteristics, do not clean it, do not try to improve it, do not handle it excessively. Oils from your skin can damage the coin's surface and reduce its value. Instead, place it in a soft holder or keep it in a safe place, and get it to a reputable coin dealer or directly to a third-party grading service for professional evaluation. Remember that even common date 1976 nickels in average circulated condition are worth face value, just 5 cents. So the vast majority of 1976 nickels you encounter will be ordinary coins. But that doesn't mean you should stop looking, stop checking, stop hoping. Because every single 1976 Jefferson nickel you examine is another chance to discover something life-changing. The incredible values we're discussing here, these multi-million-dollar prices, they're not theoretical, they're not fantasy, they're real, documented, verified sales that have actually occurred, actual money that has actually changed hands, actual lives that have been transformed by the discovery of these incredible error coins. And here's the thing that should really get your heart racing. We know that more of these coins are out there. We know that not every error nickel from 1976 has been discovered. We know that somewhere in America, probably in multiple locations, there are $46 million coins sitting in jars, boxes, albums, or drawers, completely unrecognized, completely undervalued, just waiting for someone to find them. Think about all the coins that have been inherited and never examined, all the collections assembled by people who have since passed away, all the estate sales and garage sales and flea markets where coins get sold for face value or melt value without anyone bothering to check for errors, all the opportunities, all the fortunes that slip through people's fingers simply because they didn't know what to look for. That's why education matters, why channels like this matter, why spreading the word about these incredible coins and their values is so important. Every person who learns about valuable error coins becomes another set of eyes, another potential discoverer, another person who might rescue a priceless treasure from obscurity. So here's your assignment. Here's what I want you to do right now. Today, go through every nickel you can find. Check your change jar, search your car, look in coat pockets and purse pockets and that drawer where random stuff accumulates. Ask family members if they have any old coins saved. Visit banks and buy some nickel rolls to search through. And examine every 1976 Jefferson nickel you find with the knowledge and techniques we've discussed. Will you find a $46 million coin? Probably not. The odds are astronomically against it. But you might find a $1,000 coin, or a $10,000 coin, or a $100,000 coin. And any of those would be a fantastic discovery, an incredible win, a score that proves the value and excitement of coin collecting. And even beyond the monetary value, there's something deeply satisfying, something almost spiritual, about holding history in your hands, about examining a coin that's nearly 50 years old, that traveled through countless transactions, that passed through hundreds or thousands of hands, that witnessed decades of American life, and recognizing that it has a story, a journey, a significance beyond its face value. The 1976 Jefferson Nickel represents more than just the possibility of $46 million. It represents the democratization of treasure hunting, the idea that anyone can make an incredible discovery regardless of wealth or status or connections, the reality that fortune sometimes favors not the most prepared, but the most persistent, the most observant, the people who take the time to look. So keep searching, keep learning, keep examining every coin that passes through your hands, because you never know when you might be holding something extraordinary, when that ordinary-looking nickel might turn out to be the discovery of a lifetime, the coin that changes everything. Thank you so much for watching Old Glory Coins. If you found this information valuable, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin content, and drop a comment below telling us if you'll be checking your 1976 nickels, if you found any interesting coins, or if you have questions about error coins and collecting. Remember, your next great discovery might be closer than you think, and that nickel in your pocket might just be worth millions.